Thank you all for coming. This is a very important day for UXD Academy. We're going to talk about some of the updates we've been making over the past couple of years. You're going to get a sneak preview of what a class with me is like. It is going to be very much kind of informal. So just kick back, relax, learn some things about the industry, specifically why AI needs to be in your toolkit. And then we have a special guest, which is my boy Snoop. Let me know if y'all can hear
This
him.
is Snoop D-O-double-G. My nephew Everett is going to show career switchers how to become an experienced designer and professionals how to add AI to their skill set.
Boom, and he's right as hell. So let's go ahead and kick it up. So I'm Everett. You can also call me Ev. I'm the founder of UXD Academy, a 12-year experienced designer and current senior conversational AI designer at Guardian Life Insurance. Okay. It's a mouthful. All at the end of the day is I create experiences. And my new forte now is creating AI experiences. So I'm going to talk about that today. So the agenda, we're going to learn a little bit about me, about UXD Academy, what we offer. We'll dive into a free class, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A. Now, most of us in here are professionals, so I'll be speaking more so to Dana here. The UX design field is growing rapidly, and it's crucial to understand how to develop products and services that are intuitive, user-friendly, and engaging. And hopefully UXD Academy can help you do that. So let's jump right on in. My journey began roughly 12 years ago after I graduated from St. Edward's University. Graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's in graphic design. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Things that I learned helped me make pretty images, but I could not find a job after my degree. It took me 3 years of self-teaching, 2 years of freelancing, and one opportunity to earn my first role at a health and wellness tech company called Everett. Now, they've been purchased a couple times, and they are now called Virgin Pulse. But for nearly 10 years, I have successfully designed and launched digital solutions for companies ranging from startups to large enterprises, all while creating and developing the next generation of designers by night as the founder of UXD Academy, or the College for Career Switchers. So we could see here a little bit of a resume, a few names here and there, but at the end of the day, all just focusing on the fundamental goal of providing users exactly what they need, adhering to business needs, and making sure that it's easy to build. Becoming a UX designer or a designer in general, it can be a significant investment, and that's in terms of both time and money. It often requires in the past, it required a formal education in design or related fields. But if you know today, degrees don't necessarily matter so much in our field. So there are roughly 3 paths you can take. And in these paths, you want to take into account the cost of education, the time and energy that it's going to take for you to spend to get to becoming a professional, choosing one of these 3 paths. And those 3 paths are, getting some sort of bachelor degree in graphic design, human computer interactions, or something adjacent to that. The problem is, though, you're going to spend anywhere from 2 to 4 years worth of tuition, leaving with student loan debt, but without a competitive edge in the job market. I like to consider spending time in college as being on the bench or in the practice field. You're learning a lot of theory, but you're missing time getting actual game reps. And so that person who is getting game reps do that by boot camps and or online courses. Now, all courses aren't the same. Many lack hands-on experience and professional guidance, and they can leave you lost while holding a certificate, though. And it's very important to vet boot camps and online courses. Some people like to hide behind fancy words saying that you can become a designer in 6 months and 3 weeks and 10 weeks. I'm just gonna be honest with you, that's damn near impossible. You need way more time to get a true foundation to becoming an experienced designer. And so some boot camps give you bits and pieces of those foundations. And so you may have to string some things together. But the problem is you may not necessarily know how to sift through what's a good course and a bad course. And then the third path is the self-taught career switcher. So I fall more or less into this realm. While I do have a graphic design degree, that does not really teach you anything about a user experience design, conversation design, things of that nature, which we'll get into a little bit later. You're going to use free and paid resources along with an entrepreneurial mentality going down the self-taught career path, but the time to learn can delay landing your first role. As I mentioned before, it took me 3 years. So I was doing all kinds of things, taking free courses, YouTube, Google, reading any book I can get my hands on. I will tell you though, the self-taught career, while it did take me a little bit of time, it helped me learn a lot. UXD is my way of sharing what I've learned.
But despite the challenges, the payoff can be well worth it. UX design is a field that is in high demand, and it offers the potential for a fulfilling career. As of 2023, the average salary for a UX designer reached $100,000.
And that's incredible because when I first started in UX design, I think the entry-level salary was roughly $75,000 to $85,000 a year. So that has jumped up officially. In 2023, it reached 100,000. Now there's a lot of different factors that go into getting that salary, but my job is to help you get to that. Again, the hardest part when you're starting any of these journeys or determining these journeys is just where to start. Again, it took me 3 years and 3 years of self-teaching, 2 years of freelancing. So I've come across all kinds of customers, from the know-it-all to the person who doesn't have a clue what they want. But those types of personalities helped shape my ability to transition into this profession. So I did a lot of the hard work for you. I mean, 3 years, I learned a lot about what's good and what's bad information. And so I have distilled really the best pieces of resources, both free and paid, along with a curriculum that I think helps people transition successfully. Some of the books, though, that will need to be in your library if you're wanting to learn visual design principles all the way up to experience design. First here is about grid systems. When it comes to visual design, some of the 4 main principles is color, space, typography, and layout. And so when it comes to layout, that involves grid systems. So you will need to have this book. I highly recommend it. And it's also a staple in colleges. So these books here, I'm showing you what I actually had to read in college. And then we'll get into some other books later or what you should just have in your library. The next one here, Thinking with Type, this one allows you to understand typography, the ins and outs, font pairings, things of that nature. Again, this is very much a staple in graphic design curriculum. So this is also helping you with your visual design. I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of people in this industry, visual design isn't something that each designer has. They may have the user experience design and how to perform some of the activities, but they miss out on the visual design. And so these books that I'm showing you now will help you with that. Another one is called Graphic Design Thinking. These are beyond brainstorming. These are a lot of different activities and exercises to help you with your graphic design skills. Really good stuff. As you can see there, I got a lot of Post-it notes there. This is a really good resource for you. So some of the hard skills that are needed to be an effectively well-rounded experienced designer. Your design process, how you work through problems, solve problems, that's 100% a hard skill that you need. Interaction design, user research, it's probably the most important, in my opinion. Information architecture, having prototyping skills, Visual design, I will be honest with you too. I am biased because of my graphic design background. So I really want people to really learn some visual design skills so you know what good and bad design is. Writing is very much important, especially when it comes to conversational design, service design, and then some front end coding, at least knowing how to read it, HTML, CSS. You do not need to be a professional coder that's going to transition to become a developer. You don't. However, I do believe that designers should know some code. And especially with AI today, you definitely want to pick up Python, some JavaScript there. So these are some of the hard skills. The soft skills are really important. These may be the deciding factor when it comes down to hiring and firing you at the end of the day. Can you communicate effectively? Can you collaborate? This business is a team sport business. You have to collaborate with other roles. So that needs to be something that you're good at. Problem solving, empathy, being able to present, actively listen, being adaptable. This industry, the job is all fast paced. So you're going to be thrown things at you and you need to be able to bob and weave, stick and move, and adapt. Professionalism, showing up on time. Professionalism is key. And then the final is negotiating. I don't think very many people talk about this, but on the job, you're going to be negotiating a lot. Negotiating expectations, negotiating features. If any directives coming from executive leadership that's causing you to change, you're going to have to negotiate that change in some way, shape, or form. So that is, these are some very, very key skill sets to have. Snoop, you mind taking this one from me, man?
No problem, nephew. According to Ruben Harris, the founder and CEO of Career Karma, by 2030, 375 million people are going to have to switch careers due to automation. Only they will not go back to colleges, but they will go to training programs instead.
If you've known me since 2010, I would say, so 2 years into my undergrad, I noticed that for what I wanted to do, I didn't need to be here. I didn't need to be in school. I didn't need to be here, but I had to thug it out and get the degree. But the way that college operates today, I think is going to be drastically different within the next 10, maybe 15 years. Could be sooner than that with AI. I've always been a fan of specializing rather than going to college for 4 years and wasting all that money. I believe in trades. I think some colleges are going to be hit by that, given the cost to go to college is really not worth it. An article came out a couple of weeks ago that said 52% of college graduates are working a high school level job. So I think that this statistic is true. Over almost 400 million people are going to have to switch careers because of the climate we're in, thanks to AI. And in order to reskill or upskill, they will go to places like UXD Academy and others to try and maintain a job in this post-COVID AI society that we're in. So I think you're at a good time, but you need to act fast to add AI into your repertoire here. And so that enters UXD Academy. We specialize in transforming career switchers into first-year professionals with senior level talent, guiding you every step of the way towards your first job opportunity. We teach you how to design software, create digital products, and automate businesses using AI. Our philosophy is built on 4 pillars: professional level curriculum at middle school reading level, less jargon, zero fluff, no bullshit. Edutainment is the intersection between pedagogy and andragogy, or teaching adults and children. And ultimately, we show you the stuff that boost camps don't, won't, or just simply can't teach you. We do that by allowing you to learn at your own pace or from a professional group led by myself and other guest professionals. Our program is designed for people 13 and older with day jobs or day classes. One of the things that sets us apart is we do portfolio workshops. We help you build your portfolio, each case study. You will leave with a minimum of 5 case studies, which is something that I preach that every aspiring designer needs in their portfolio is a minimum of 5. We do mock interviews. I partner with recruiting agencies and other people in my network to stage mock interviews, round robin in a gauntlet style, along with an aptitude. And then you have a community where other like-minded aspiring designers can help each other out. And you could also receive tailored professional coaching. I'm excited for this because I think this is something that is lacking in most boot camps today, is the real pathway for their students to gain the experience they need to land corporate roles. So we have partnered with Our Table, the first AI automation agency staffed entirely by new professionals. They safely introduce AI to businesses by guiding them step by step, automating processes and created digital products. We've partnered with them to allow the top 10% of our experienced designers and automation experts to work on paid, on-the-job opportunities led by industry professionals. I often told people that, especially as an aspiring designer, you need legitimacy. You need people to take a chance on you. And one of the best ways to do that is to leverage freelancing, as I did. And so this provides our graduates, the top 10% at least, to get paid working on effectively a case study that they can use to land a role. So just really quick, some values that UXD Academy has. We're creating quality first-year professionals, not juniors. We want to redefine that word. Anyone 13 and older should understand our product. Less jargon, zero fluff, edutainment. Always keeping it honest and transparent. I'm not going to lie to you. Transitioning can be hard as hell. As I said, I took 3 years to do it. My job is to drastically cut that time. But ultimately, it depends on you. How hard you work determines how fast you get hired. I've had people get hired in 6 months, record. I had people get hired in 1.5, almost 2 years, and in between. And it just comes down to personality, life circumstances, what you can block and make time for. Discipline is required for adaptability, and accountability is necessary for respect. So these are the strong values that hold UXD Academy together. So how do we do things? From a learning experience perspective, we're always going with best practices. We prepare our designers for remote work using the best practices and tools they'd actually use in the field. So Jira, VoiceFlow, Zapier, all the things that Figma, all the tools and softwares that they will use in the field, we teach them. Future-proof content. So our content is a living, breathing document. It gets updated yearly to align with tomorrow's most in-demand skills. And that is something that is very, very important to me. I'm making sure that our content is constantly updated and relevant. And then using active industry professionals. I've always been a fan of learning from people who are actually doing, and I will take insight from somebody who has done in the past, but I lean heavier towards people who are actually doing. And the benefit of that is that you gain real-time industry knowledge directly from people working and creating tomorrow's products. And then finally, we have 3 ways effectively to invest in your future with UXD Academy. The first is a free option. We have a free community. There, you are pointed in the right direction on what to learn in your own time. And we also provide you with free resources, links to paid resources. You get community support, and you get access to our workshops. Going to be doing a Learn With Me series where I allow people to sit in and watch me build things from AI agents, chatbots, automated workflows. You get to see firsthand, how it's done and learning with me along the way. So that's the free option. The Mastermind group gives you all those features as the free version, but here you get industry professionals led groups dedicated to preparing designers for corporate or freelance careers. So you actually get hands-on guidance within the Mastermind group. You meet weekly to assess where you are and help you get over to the next step. We also help with job preparation. So that's where you're going to get the mock interviews, the portfolio reviews, helping you design your interview deck, optimizing your LinkedIn, optimizing your resume, all of those things. You get that in the Mastermind group. Finally, let's say, you know what, I've taken 2 or 3 courses already. I'm kind of maxed out on my pockets as far as paying for stuff, but I like what you're talking about. Is there any way that I can get something like a la carte or just help me on a specific case study or something like that? Well, yeah, we do have that option with private coaching. So you get 6 sessions with me. You get an evaluation of where you are, and that includes your portfolio, your resume, anything like that. Anything that you need to work on, we'll evaluate and then provide you individual guidance there. These are the options that we have. And I'm going to jump into our learning experience environment. So what you're looking at here is our Mastermind and free community groups. It's on a platform called School, SKOOL, where you have a community built-in feature, and it's all gamified. So the more you interact within the community, the more points you get, and you can unlock certain features set by the community leader. So it's encouraged to interact within the community. We have a family chat where you can just post anything that you're working on. You get industry news, announcements, community wins from members. If you have any feedback for the community, post it here, and we will take a look at those and get some things added. And then any working sessions from our Learn and Build series will be posted here so you can go back and review them. The next most important thing is the actual classroom itself. So you have all of this is one course, but it's broken into sections. So here's just getting started, what the points mean, how you reach certain levels, and how you get points. Our designer's toolkit section is all of our freebies. So here, I will show you what the apprentice toolkit looks like here in a second, but this is a free Figma file that contains every activity, deliverable, and template you'll need in your career from our program. You get lesson exercises, design activities or deliverables, your case study projects, and then your interview deck template. And you also get a free design system. So that way we're all in a unified design system and can design with similar components. So you get a light and a dark version and your toolkit, and you would come here and download those and load the library into your file. Required readings. These are, I would say, the design of everyday things I had in college, but the rest of these I picked up after college. And I want you to read them in the order that I posted here. There's a reason for it. But starting off with the design of everyday things, the McKinsey Mind, Change by Design, Lean UX, Sprint, Articulating Design Decisions, Hooked, Atomic Design Principles, Conversation Design. As I mentioned before, I will add more to this later, but there will always be an announcement. The software subscription. These are the softwares that the software stack that we're teaching you how to use. So Figma, VoiceFlow, ChatGPT, Squarespace. We'll also throw Claude in there as well. UXL is a supplementary training material that I make all of my students subscribe to. This is something that I've even used to help you get 25% off using our discount code for the pro version. The pro version allows you access to more courses and the ability to get certifications. So that's going to be important. Here I put some sources of inspiration. Come in here on your own time, check these out, add these into your workflow. I also added some YouTube channels. UXD Academy is launching a YouTube channel. It's there. There's nothing in there now, but you can go ahead and subscribe. Over the next 2 weeks or so, we're going to start adding a boatload of content. Figma's YouTube channel is really good. VoiceFlow's YouTube channel is really good. A guy named Wes Roth. I'm going to be adding more people's stuff on here, like Liam Otley, Liam Evans. These are some really good YouTube channels to check out, specifically for AI related content. Wes Roth, Liam Evans, and Liam Otley. And then the certificates and assessments come directly from UXL, and then this one here comes from Deep Learning via Coursera. I took this one. It was a really good one. I will say you will probably, if you're not a developer thinking person, you will have to review this content multiple times. AI can get very complicated, and my goal is to try and simplify it for you. But just a heads up, when you're not taking anything AI related from us, it may get a little complicated. So just use AI as a tool to help you learn, but just know that it's going to be a little bit wordy, verbose outside of UXD Academy. So that's the designer's toolkit, freebies, paid resources. And then you will see in here, we have all our video content. This here is design fundamentals. So color, spacing, typography, layout, becoming a designer. This is really the meat and potatoes of UXD Academy's universal experience design program. All these videos are here. So as you watch videos and complete them, you'll get points. You have a lot of content in here, and I really want you to take your time. I don't want people to come in here and try to start binge watching things because you won't retain them. And how I know that is we get down to the actual project, adapting to the real world, where we're doing job preparation and things like that. I'm going to be testing you, and I will know if you attempted to binge watch something. So rather than do all that, I have it set up to where you have to hit certain levels to unlock these. When it comes to our table, you have to be level 9. You have to have all those certifications and assessments done. There's a process. You can't just complete everything and go, oh, okay, how can I, get that spot on our table? Well, no, there's a series of steps that happens, and all the steps are really located in these courses. So this is the Mastermind group. In the calendar, you'll see different series pop up here. So you would just come here and sign up, and you will get notified when the event is starting. You can see members, leaderboards, and the about. So this is the Mastermind group, and then this one is the free one. So you won't see the hour table course there because that's only for Mastermind members. You get the same free resources. You get design fundamentals. Participate in some of the work sessions as a guest, but the Mastermind can actually participate in the design files and actually ask questions directly. So there are benefits. We try not to restrict too much as far as what the free community can see, but really you'll be more of a spectator as it relates to workshops. So what you're looking at, this is the free toolkit that is provided in both the free and the Mastermind community. This houses all the exercises, all the activities, deliverables, your job preparation information, your job preparation items, and all your case study projects that you will need to complete. So what happens is you go into the school community, you watch the content, you complete the assignments that match with the content, and then during the workshops, we make sure that you're understanding the content, review what you did, and then help you progress and ultimately build out your resume, your portfolio, and your interview deck. Interview deck is something that I'm not seeing a lot of people actually speak to. You're gonna present your work half the time you are building it. It's better to get a good start on your presentation skills now while you're in our environment than being thrusted into it and being lost in the real world. So A friend of mine had this cool quote, and I've kept it. He says, "Your portfolio is what gets you the interview, but your interview deck is what gets you the job." A lot of times in our process of getting hired, when we apply, we send our resume, send our portfolio, and then during some part of screenings, you will pull your portfolio back up again and do another portfolio review. I've never been a fan of that. Most of the time you've already seen it, and I believe that it should be self-explanatory. But what will be better to see is something brand new and you talk through that. And that's where the interview deck comes in. You are basically showcasing your best case study from start to finish, showcasing your personality and your process, and ultimately ending with the impact of the work that you've done, whether it went live or not. But this case study, you should take into your design rounds, your interview rounds, and be able to stretch presenting this deck anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how long the actual interview session is. So that's the interview deck, but everything from exercises, color exercises, spacing, typography, layout, everything is there for you. And it's about you doing the work, and mentors will review the work and make sure you're on the right path. And then we will help you build out these case studies here. And this is the Apprentice Toolkit. We're not going to talk about everything here. We're going to jump into product design because it's touching on AI. So we'll go through that. So product design encompasses the entire process of creating and developing a product. It's ensuring it's not only aesthetically pleasing and functional, but also generates revenue and is cost-effective to build. Product designers are team players, which we all are, but they're very key in being able to collaborate with cross-functional teams, which include, development, marketing, product, and depending on how the company is set up, you might throw analytics in there. You want to collaborate with these cross-functional teams on the design aesthetics, the usability, and most importantly, the business need. I like to simplify product design as UX with a heavier focus on the business. How do you create this product that makes money that also solves the user's problems? That's my easy in a nutshell way of describing product design. As you see here, product designers perform many of the same tasks as UX designers, but again, more focusing on developing an existing product, designing new features, and maintenance. So the DNA of product design balances the needs of business, users, and market with well-rounded skill set. So with product design, you have a lot of disciplines mashed in together, from interaction design, user research, marketing, focusing on customer experience, service design. All of these really make up the DNA of product design. Now, you will probably start to hear a term called AI product design. If you all know me, I despise so many labels of different disciplines when they're really all the same thing. We're all experienced designers. We're just focusing on what experience we're interested in, what part of the design process we are more skilled in, and we will key in on that. But it's all an experience design, not necessarily a separate discipline. It's all part of the experience. As it relates to AI, though, it's both feared and hype in the industry. Okay, everybody wants to use AI, but it's important to know that AI needs a purpose and shouldn't be used just because everyone else is. Okay, there's a lot of implications to having AI. AI product design is the skill of designing products that integrate artificial intelligence. Okay, it combines traditional design principles with AI technology. Okay, so you're designing for AI products. You're focusing on enhancing product functionality and user experience. AI is the concept that technology will solve problems like a human would. Okay, understanding AI's capabilities and ethical considerations to design for complex interactions between AI, users, and data is extremely important. I really can't understate that right now. And you'll notice a lot of industries are kind of hesitating and pump faking on AI right now because of this very thing here, making sure that data is protected, making sure that we don't have any biases when it comes to these models, and making sure that no one can hack their way and do some nefarious things with these systems. Conversational design is simply the practice of making AI assistants more helpful and natural when talking to humans. You know, when you're talking to a robot, we don't want that when it comes to conversational design. You're planning the interaction that takes place between a human and a machine. Okay. You're simply just knowing how to talk to machines. With conversation being the original interface for how information gets exchanged between people and systems. That's what conversation is. And learning how to ask machines to provide the value you're looking for is certainly a skill. Okay. When it comes to conversational design principles, we want to make sure that it's cooperative. Okay, the system is cooperative. If there is no cooperation, there's no conversation. Systems that are cooperative actively support the customer, and interacting with them doesn't require effort or some special knowledge. It should just be easy, and the system should be cooperating with the user. It should also be goal-oriented. It's the most basic principle of interaction design. A successful interaction helps parties meet their goals swiftly without frustration. Okay, let's get to the point and make it easy to get to that point. The system also needs to be context aware. The better a system knows its knowledge of context, the more conversational it can be. It must respond to that context appropriately in order to be conversational. So we know what long pauses do, make stuff feel awkward. And you also don't want a situation where you ask the chatbot experience, I want to know what my balance is, and it says the sky is blue. So making sure that the system understands and can respond quickly to the context is key to being conversational. You also want it to be quick and clear. Okay, there are a few things that make an interaction more delightful than getting it over quickly. Machines are best used for precision. So use it in the interest of speed, or at least the sensation of speed. Turn-based. Conversation is an exchange that happens in turns, your turn, my turn, right? With successful ones moving at a brisk pace, allow for even exchanges, and they share quality about whose turn it is. It should be very clear on whose turn it is, and we should also, in terms of a system trying to retrieve information, making sure that it's clear, okay, the system is thinking and it'll be giving my answers soon. Truthful. This entails intentionally setting the right expectations for the user. This requires insight into the user's mind and context. That's where research comes into play. You understand your users, then you understand how to set the right expectations for this interaction between the user and the system. And it's polite, showing respect for the time of the user, giving attention to it by making their investment more productive than they expected. This could be, because you've done your research and we have AI integrated into a cart experience, and based off of previous purchases, we could show, hey, would you like to add this to your cart? Allowing them to not be completely interrupted by the goal that they're trying to reach. And it's error tolerant. Machines break, they don't make mistakes. People do. True conversational interactions is tolerant of mistakes, anticipates errors, and recovers seamlessly. Similarly to spell check, right? Or when it comes to Google, you can misspell lasagna and it'll still know that you're trying to ask for a lasagna recipe of some sort. So making sure that the system is error tolerant will allow it to be more conversational. And then finally, personality. These are the consistent set of human characteristics embodied by a company's product, service, or organization. Chatbots and agents are nothing without a personality. This is an exercise that could be combined with marketing as it pertains to a company's brand, whether or not you want to create a character, mascot, and then most importantly, be able to apply that personality to your chatbots and agents. Generative AI, Gen AI, the big one, okay? It's a type of algorithm that uses deep learning and data sets to understand, summarize, generate, and predict new content. What I want you to focus on when it comes to generative AI, generate new shit. You can generate text, imagery, generating new stuff from data it's been trained on. Large language models are also AI algorithms that use deep learning and data sets to understand, summarize, and generate human-like text. So think of this as like the engine that allows generative AI to function, right? So we have, by OpenAI, we have GPT-4. I think they just released GPT-4 Turbo now. Anthropic's LLM is called Claude. Right now, we're on Claude 3. Meta's LLM is called Llama. I believe they're on Llama 3. When you're interacting with ChatGPT, it's powered by an LLM. Natural language processing. This is a subfield of AI that enables computers to understand, interpret, and generate human language. And they do that by sentiment analysis, machine translation, name entity recognition, and text summarization. So this allows computers to understand what is said or what they heard. You give it a conversation and you ask it, hey, what was the sentiment of this conversation? The model will then parse the conversation and analyze if the conversation was a good one, a bad one, or neutral. That's sentiment analysis, understanding what do the words mean. Translation, machine translation, allowing the algorithm to translate the text into something that the machine can understand. Name entity recognition is exactly how it sounds. Being able to recognize that this is a name, a date, a place, a number, some sort of entity recognition. It will be able to sift that out through text. So if I send a response to ChatGPT that says, I was born on June 5th. Okay, well, the entity there is that date, June 5th. So natural language processing allows it, based off of how we trained it, to recognize entities, names, dates, places, numbers, things like that. So NLU is the subdomain of NLP. This is what allows the machine to understand and process the meaning of natural language, speech, or text. And the best way to design NLUs, speaking as of today, you know this shit is going to change within like a week or so, but the best way is using intents, entities, and utterances to design your NLU. So an intent is simply an action that users want to take. So for example, book a trip, open a new account, order shoes. Those are intents, or I like to think of them as just simply goals. Like, what goal am I looking for or looking to complete when speaking to this agent or this chatbot? Entities are pieces of information that you want to capture from users. So we talked about name, date, age. This is information that we want to capture, store it, or send it somewhere. Utterances are phrases or words a user says to perform an action. So if I were to say like book a trip, that's one way to say it. Book a flight, that's one way to say it. For example, yes, it could be yeah, yes, yup, yes, indeed. These are just different ways of saying something. So you have all of these. Now, the machine can understand the context of the conversation and what it needs to do, because we've programmed it with intents, we've told it what entities to look for, and we also told it how people may say something. And then the system needs to generate the text to respond back. So that's what we have here with natural language generations, the process of using algorithms and computational models to transform labeled or unlabeled data into human-like language, text, or speech. Now, I put labeled or unlabeled. You will hear structured and unstructured data, but that's essentially what they are. Structured data is labeled data. It's clean. It's an Excel spreadsheet that has columns and then examples underneath each column. That's a labeled or clean piece of data. Whereas unlabeled, it's not clean. It could be a jumbled together piece of transcript with 10,000 conversations in it, and there's no formal headers, there's none of that. The machine has to now make sense of what this data is. It has to cluster, find patterns, and say, okay, this sounds like this piece of information is probably pricing. This piece of information is customer. The machine is doing all this. And it's able to take either labeled, structured, or unstructured, unlabeled data and turn that into human language, text, or speak. Chatbots. Okay, so you're going to see a lot about chatbots and agents. You're going to hear those used interchangeably. Because of how they're deployed, they could be easily misconstrued, but really what's important is understanding their purposes and what they do. Okay, so with chatbots, they're simply rule-based, scripted systems designed to understand and respond to selected keywords or phrases and do all that mimicking a human conversation. So essentially, these are pre-scripted with pre-canned responses that are built in, and once it recognizes something that it was programmed for, it's going to respond back with a pre-canned response. Its job may be to extract information or direct a user toward information. But that's pretty much it. Like it's not built on AI, it's not thinking, it's not learning. It's just tree possibilities on where you can or how you can interact with it. Whereas an agent, sometimes called virtual assistant, you will hear different people, remix the term, but an agent, this is a little bit different. It's more sophisticated. It engages in human-like conversations, but it can perform actions to complete tasks on behalf of the user, and it can learn from historical data. Okay, so you want to think of this, another term that's popping in my head now, it's like virtual or digital employee. Like this person can actually perform tasks, perform actions. They have memory. They are connected to a large language model, so they can have conversation that feels real to the user. They may have a knowledge base of documents, what we're looking at there, any data or document. It can use a coded interpreter to understand code and execute on code. You could give it instructions to complete a task and it will do it for you. It's way more sophisticated. Just think of it as it can perform actions and it learns. So it will learn from past interactions because it has memory, and it will find ways to become more efficient and more effective solving a problem. Okay, prompt designing. To be honest with you, you're going to hear prompt designing and prompt engineering used interchangeably. So just bear with it. Just understand like what's like really happened. When it comes to prompt design, it's really the process of structuring text instructions, aka a prompt, that could be interpreted and understood by a generative AI model. This is knowing how to talk to the machine, coming up with the right way to talk to it. There are many different techniques today, and new ones emerge, like I said, damn near daily. Okay, but this is purely just how do you design the best way to talk to the model. Okay, so some components, general components of a good prompt include the role. This is the persona of how you want your assistant to behave when interacting with users. This could include tone, personality, and the assigned authority. You will see a prompt that says, you are a seasoned software developer. That's the role I gave it. You are a friendly, seasoned software developer. You speak in very short, quick statements. Here's the context. I'm having issues with such and such. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. So we're going from the role to the context, now to the instructions, okay? You always want to provide context when interacting, so you'll prevent hallucinations or simply shit the AI model just made up. Like, you want to give it context to prevent hallucinations. Any external knowledge that can help the model focus on what you're telling it to do, give it that context. And then give it rules and guidelines, objectives, and steps on how to complete that task. It's very recommended, especially for a complex task. And again, from an agent standpoint, these instructions are critical because you're telling it to do something. Hey, when somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about a financial service agent, and I say, hey, I want you to send some money to my brother, Charles. I want you to send $50 to Charles. Well, we gave the agent instructions on how to do that. First, look up the balance, make sure there's enough money to transfer. Then select the amount. Then who is it going to? You put those in the instructions. So now when I ask it to do something, it already has a flow for. All it needs to do is just confirm with me. Okay, you want to send $50 to Charles today? All right, cool, done, taken care of. That's where the agent benefit is. You want to provide some examples in your prompts. You want to give it guidance on the output you're looking for. So always provide it examples. What output format you want, okay? Specify the exact format you want the LLM to output. I need you to analyze this document, summarize it with in bullet point format, the top 5 benefits of this article, right? Or write a poem about X. I need you to create a table that compares these 3 AI no-code automation tools. Like, give it a format. And then any input that could be text file, Word document, PDF, sound or image file that you want the LLM to act on or to take into consideration based on the output you ask for. You may not use all of these, but these are just some common attributes that should be included in what's considered a good prompt. Prompt engineering is the technical strategy of creating precise instructions to extract more performance from an AI model. I want you to think fine-tuning the model. Okay, you fine-tune the model using rule-based prompts. If this, do this. If that, do that. Data augmentation, and just some prompt tuning techniques. So this is about creating prompts that scale. Over time, you improve these prompts. You may create templates so that way other business units can use them. But what you're doing is you're trying to get more performance. You're testing the AI model, fine-tuning. That's effectively what you're doing with prompt engineering. So it's that process of, okay, we gave it this, let's try it this way. Let's you create some A/B testing and you give it a prompt and you watch the performance and track the performance of it. And then you create an updated template of the prompt design that we should be using moving forward. So some of these techniques are called, one of them is called zero shot. This is the technique of presenting a language model with a task or prompt without providing any context or examples. So this here, what we asked is clarify this. So we're asking the model or ChatGPT here to do a sentiment analysis. So classify this text into neutral, negative, or positive. Here's the text. I think the vacation is trash. Okay, what's the sentiment? I gave it no examples. I gave it no context, just here it is. What is the sentiment? And ChatGPT came back and said, I would classify this as negative. Okay, that's a zero shot prompt. Few shot is the technique of using a small amount of examples as context to to guide an AI model to provide better results. So we're giving it context now. We're giving it examples. So here I said, this is awesome is positive. This is bad is negative. Wow, that movie was rad. And this was copy and paste. I definitely did not say rad. And now the final one is what a horrible show. So I'm asking ChatGPT, what is that sentiment? And so because of the examples it gave, it now knows that, okay, what a horrible show is negative. Okay. Having horrible in there also makes it a little bit easier, but you get the picture. Providing examples as context is few shot. Chain of thought. This technique mimics human reasoning by breaking down problems into intermediate steps. The key thing is when you ask Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, when you ask it to think step by step, you now have just caused it to go into chain of thought. So I went to the market and bought 10 apples. I gave 2 apples to the neighbor and 2 apples to the repairman. I then went and bought 5 more and ate 1. How many apples do I remain? And think about it step by step. So now it's going to break down this problem into 5 steps. At the end of those steps, it tells me how many I have left. And it looks like here I have 10. So it broke down that problem into a series of steps. That's chain of thought. Mind you, you can combine these techniques within the same prompts as well. Okay. Self-consistency. This is a technique where a model creates several solutions for a problem and chooses the best one based on the context and its knowledge. Also, these may be called something else as well. Things like tree of thought can be considered this as well. So I want you to not focus so much on the title of them, just what is going on, and then you can cross-reference with your research. So this here, the best way to engage in self-consistency is to have the model think as if it's multiple people. So I told the model, imagine 3 experts who think differently are discussing this problem. The final answer is decided by a majority vote. I could have said 5 experts. I could have said whatever, right? But kept it simple. I chose 3. So here's the problem. You have 8 apples, you eat 3. How many do you have left? And so each expert is going to solve that problem. And then at the end of that, the experts, quote unquote, are going to deliberate and they're going to choose the best answer. Okay. Now, for it looks like here, all 3 of the experts got the answer right. Okay. You have 5 left. But there will be times where you're going to get different answers. You're going to get multiple wrong answers and multiple right answers. But because you are having it check based on the context of the problem that you asked and its knowledge and that's from the LLM, or it could be from your knowledge base that you have hooked up to it. Using all those, it's going to pick the best answer. You could also throw in a line in there and say, don't make it up if you don't know. That's a good way to also prevent wrong answers and hallucinations. React, which stands for reason action, incorporates reasoning and action at the same time in a prompt. The formula includes reason, action, and observation. So here we gave the model this formula. Okay, solve this task following thought, action, observation for every step. Think about the current situation and the next steps to follow. Observation is what results are achieved after taking the action, and then action could be of 3 different types. So we're giving it the instructions. When we say action, we mean you can search for something, follow up with something, and then finish by giving the final answer. That's what we deem as action. So we program it, we give it the actions that it's allowed to take. We tell it what observation means, and we tell it what thought means. And then we give it the problem, which here we're saying, how do you make tea? And so it's going to go through those instructions I gave it using a formula of thought, action, observation. And at the end of that observation, it will have told us how to make tea. And that's what we have here. Symbolic reasoning plus PAL. Now the plus PAL, these are 2 techniques merged together, but this involves reasoning pertaining to colors and objects. That's a symbolic reasoning, okay? Using code or program-aided language to answer the question. So what I did was I gave it some objects. Okay, I said I got a chair, 2 potatoes, cauliflower, lettuce, 2 tables, cabbage, 2 onions, and 3 fridges. I want the model to count how many pieces of vegetables I have. Okay, so I gave it a series of items, but I also told it to answer this using Python. And that's what it did here. Now you can tell it to answer it in whatever language you want, but here we just use Python. So it connected to a tool that allow it to use code, so code interpreter, plus the LLM, and it took an inventory of what vegetables we had, and then added all those vegetables up, and it came with 7. Okay, so we used code and symbolic reasoning to count effectively objects. I would say from a design standpoint, you might not be using this technique too often, but it's a good one to have in the back pocket. Let's see here. Least to most is where an AI model breaks a complex problem into simpler sub-problems and then solving the sub-questions using instructions, chain of thought, and or self-consistency. So again, we're getting to now where we're combining other methodologies into one prompt. And again, if you notice, we're all really touching on those basic components, which is, the context, the input, the output, all of that can be brought into one prompt using multiple techniques. So let's see here. Yeah, we gave it a problem. So in this situation, a customer sent us an email. Okay, so this where we have a use case. This could be a customer support service agent. And the customer sent us an email saying, hey, I bought a t-shirt from you all on March 1st. I saw that there was a discount. So I bought a shirt that was originally $30 and got 40% off. I saw that you have a new discount for 50% off. So they did that for another 10%, but let's keep it going. I'm wondering if I can return the shirt and have enough store credit to buy 2 of your shirts with the new discount. They are trying to get whatever deal they can here. We gave it instructions. This is where that role came in. You are a customer service agent tasked with kindly responding to customer inquiries. Okay. Returns are allowed within 30 days. Today's date is March 29th. There is currently a 50% discount on shirts. Shirt prices ranging from 18 to $100 at the store. Do not make up any information about discounted prices. So you see there, right there, we're trying to prevent hallucinations and get an accurate response. So the next thing we do is we broke down the sub problems. Okay, first you have to determine if the customer is within 30-day window. Then you need to calculate the amount of store credit they would have if they returned their original purchase. Then you got to calculate the cost of 2 eligible shirts at the new discounted rate, and then compare the store credit to the cost of the new discounted shirts to determine if they can purchase 2 shirts with their store credit. So then it goes through and follows each of those sub problems, and then it crafts an email response back to that customer. And what it found out was that you are within the 30-day window. If you decide to return your original purchase, you will receive a store credit of $18. And at the current discount of 50% off, you can buy 2 shirts at the lowest price of $18 because you got $18 in store credit. Buying 2 shirts at $18 at 50% discount, that means each shirt is $9 each. You add them up, you could buy 2 shirts at $18 with your store credit. Now, if you try and buy a maximum price shirt, you're gonna need more money. So it gave them 2 options. Sure, if you buy the 2 cheapest options, you could pay for it with your store credit. Otherwise, you're gonna have to add a little bit more money. Okay. Here. So ultimately, when we think about AI, the role of AI in products is a complementary existence with human interaction by increasing value and user impact more efficiently. I wish we would think about a little bit more when it comes to AI, generative AI, all this shit, is that it shouldn't be looked really as a way to replace people. It should be a way to enhance people. You can extract value from AI given inputs. And so it should theoretically make each person more productive, more efficient. And I'm just a fan of that approach rather than laying off people without proper training to try and replace people. And then you have to turn around and add those people back. It just doesn't make any sense. So that in a nutshell is the class. I want to leave about 30 more minutes for Q&A. The next class that I'm going to show is actually building both chatbots and agents using VoiceFlow and Zapier. The last thing I want to mention is that this is a living, breathing curriculum. So the goal is, as new information comes out and it's vetted, it will get added. I always look for professionals specifically to provide any feedback on the content. That is it for the presentation. I'll take any questions from people now.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I will say this, the AI is obviously an interesting space, and there's a lot of conflict when it comes to, it depends on where you are within the pyramid. Studios wanting to use AI to create background characters.
Yeah.
And some stuff's been coming out lately about some of Amazon's AI work, how it actually wasn't AI, it was groups of people in India. And now there's talks of new legislation that's going to be put into play, which will require companies to disclose how they generated the AI. So it's an interesting landscape, and it's, I'm trying to look at it from how can AI impact retail, but then there's those subcategories when it comes to repurchasing and so on. That's the space that kind of interests me. But yeah, I agree. AI is definitely something that you should do some exploration in, and then, it is, to your point, it's some cases depends on who you are.
Yeah.
If you're a writer, I know some companies got rid of all their writers and had AI write it, and then they started writing porn, and they had to hire all these people back. It was, I guess, a giant dumpster fire. It was a really interesting story. So we'll see where it goes, and also keep in mind it's only gonna get better as time goes on. It's still, I feel like, in a lot of ways in its infancy. So as AI gets more evolved and the algorithms get more complex, it's just going to get better to work with, hopefully.
Yep. Let's see here.
But very cool stuff. Thanks, Ev. I actually have to drop. Everyone's
no problem, man.
I have to go to see what's up.
Take care, dude.
Thank you.
I'll let you.
Thank you, everyone.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah, Everett. Go right ahead, man.
First of all, wow. I have been using ChatGPT since April, and I never knew that there were different mechanisms to make your prompts better. And so that's why I came to see if I could learn some new skills there, and I definitely have. What do you call those? I guess refinements to prompts. What do you call each one of those?
Those are just prompting techniques.
Okay.
Yeah, those are prompt techniques, prompt engineering. They're just different prompt techniques at the end of the day.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, and there's ways, even with ChatGPT, Claude, things of that nature, you have user prompts and system prompts, right? So the system is pretty straightforward on what it is. Like, this is how you want the system to act, think, behave. You would, and that's where that role is very important, right? You are a blank. You speak in this way. You only answer questions that do blah, blah, blah. And you put that in the system prompt. And then now, anything that the user inputs, it's going to respond based off of the rules you gave it, or the rules, personality, the brain that you gave it via the system prompt.
Okay, understood. And so, to extend the question, are the prompt techniques the same across ChatGPT and Claude?
So interesting. That's how we test the models in general, is we will give them all the same prompt, and then we just review what we get back from each one of them. And that's how we're able to find out certain models are better for certain things. With Claude has definitely a more conversational feel to it. You don't really have to do, you can, but you don't really have to do as many prompting techniques with Claude. You purely talk naturally, like you're talking to somebody, and it will give you really strong results. Claude is also really good at summarizing things, summarizing large data. It also has a really large context window, but you also got to be careful, right? But depending on how you structure that prompt with a large context window, you could have situations where the system may forget certain things within the prompt. Now they're getting a lot better at that now, but just different prompting techniques. You can write the same prompt but give it to 3 different models, and they'll more or less return something, different.
Okay, understood. So is Gemini the same thing as Claude, or is Claude an iteration of Gemini?
No. Claude is its own thing. Claude is made by Anthropic, and then Gemini is by Google.
Okay, understood. So what I was asking is really Gemini, because what I've been using, I've never used Claude, but I've used ChatGPT and Gemini to actually produce code like you did. In an application that I'm writing for my startup, it generated at least 12 big chunks of code that I modified slightly and just dropped in. And I find that Gemini is better at certain code languages. Like, it knows more about PostgreSQL functions But if I want to do TypeScript, then ChatGTP usually gives me a better result. So given that part of the question, for prompt engineers as a profession, is a part of the benefit is for, or a part of the skill set, knowing which AI to use for what, or is a part of the skill set going deep in one model? What is going to be valued by employers or by companies or by small business? Is it the broad, across GPTs or across generative platforms, or is it deep in one? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's part of the discourse between different schools of thought. So there's one school of thought about, there's the buyer build analysis, where do we just buy a model and kind of fine tune it, or do we build our own from scratch with our own data? There's a cost and talent, labor associated with both of those. And so part of the techniques too of a prompt engineer is knowing how to ask the right prompts, but also know which models are cost beneficial. So for example, you're going to have to test all the models. Claude 3 Haiku is cheaper than Claude 3 Opus or something like that. One may cost 10 or 25 tokens. The one is 0.5 tokens. So the 0.5 one is cheaper, but okay, there's capability limitations with the cheaper model. So part of your job as the prompt engineer is knowing how to craft the right prompts using the right models to get the most benefit out of that model. So there is something that just was posted. There was a study on, I think it was called agentic architecture, where they got better performance building agents using the cheapest GPT model. So like 3.5 or 3.5 turbo, right?
Okay.
They built 4 agents using that model. But what they did was they had those agents work together on every prompt, and they saw better results using 5 cheap models in agents versus GPT-4, the better model. They saw that using 5 cheaper ones built together in a cluster or a swarm performed better than the best model. So that's part of your evaluation when it comes to prompt engineering as a career. It's like, okay, ultimately, what are we trying to solve? What's the problem we're trying to solve? And then knowing the different constraints as far as tokens, how much each prompt is going to cost, setting up the right prompt, and then building the right architecture is going to be key. And then my coworker, Tatusha, is here. She's going to probably add some color than this because she's more seasoned than I am. Go right ahead, Tatusha.
I was not gonna add any color. I was gonna
my bad.
I'm a student today.
What's up?
I just was reacting off of, you just made it sound like a bunch of AI models know how to better collaborate than you.
Well,
if a few is better than the one, take that back to the office.
So hey, I got 5 of the cheapest models. I can take out 10 developers now. Yeah, I mean, that's according to what the architecture of what was his, I forgot his name, Andrew Ng. He built that architecture using cheaper models. Julio,
thank you for your answers.
Yeah, no problem.
I can say though, Victor, I love that question. You have the luxury where it sounds like you're more control of what you're building, probably an entrepreneurial setting.
Yes. Right.
I'm at a company where there's a department for every one thing, right? And so I'm on the school of thought that we want to choose between select models and figure out what's the best fit for purpose and what we're doing. But then we have, no one wants to maintain all these models and from the platform team. So they're gonna pick one model, like one model, maybe two. Claude is a favorite, seems to be a favorite one. No one wants to mess with ChatGPT for some strange reason, even though we're using Microsoft Copilot, which is basically that, but that's a whole other story. But in that case, we would have to use other approaches and techniques because we may not be at that point of our journey and discussion at my company where we're gonna always be vetting 5 or so different models to see what handles what best, which I think will just be a learning curve because I think it's a necessary thing that needs to happen, but that at a big corporation it's going to be an interesting journey.
Okay, thank you.
Julio, Mercedes, you have anything? You good?
Yeah, I'm just absorbing. This was awesome. I think my question was really more so about like experience, and I guess Victor, you could maybe even speak to this experience on like leveraging it to build things for us, and like how can we use those swarms or configure those swarms in a way that helps us from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and what does that look like? Is that hooking up a whole bunch of micro assistants to do all of one person's job, or is it better to just configure one assistant to do an entire job? I guess what's the best way to approach that?
Okay, my thought on that, and I'm bringing in what Everett and Tatusha said a little earlier, is the unique selling proposition for a prompt engineer is to understand which AI, which platform does what the best, and then to leverage that platform to produce a solution, or platforms to produce a solution. And so a part of what you're asking is about the swarm. Well, it's hard to make platforms that are not the same swarm. But if you if you are a prompt engineer, you can effectively emulate the swarm by your expertise and pulling everything together. Say for instance, the software solution that I'm working on, I discovered that Gemini was better at doing PostgreSQL, which is the back end of the application, while the front end is React and TypeScript, right? Well, if I hadn't had that expertise beforehand, some years of SQL and then years of front end development under my belt, or either managing front end developers, I would not have known which one was better. Okay, so that element is what I'm wanting to see my kids understand, is that they still need to have some expertise to understand which AI is producing the desired result. And that's going to be needed for a long time. I don't know if it's 20 years or what. So to kind of wrap up that question, the complete building of a platform, a software platform, is going to be very difficult for a long time. But there are companies out there attempting to do it, like Versailles. Have you ever heard of Versailles?
No.
Yes.
You have? Okay. So Versailles, in my opinion, is a leader in that they are the strongest leaders in Next.js. And so when ChatGPT launched November 2022, they started a whole open source movement to be able to design complete applications from top to bottom using AI, including the UI elements. So you can actually prompt the UI elements. It references Vercel Next.js code, produces a front end, and connects that to the back end. You describe the models, the actual, when I say this, the data models. Let's say if it's a products table in a database, you describe the model as well. I'm not talking about the large language model in this case. I'm talking about the database model. So it may be like customers or contacts or products. Just think that's a data model. Well, you describe that, and they have made some real headway on generating in less than a minute a full application that can go from user interface, a person typing in a form, all the way to the actual database receiving the data and storing it.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, follow Vercel, because they bring out some really good experiments. Okay. And so Everett, back when we were using Angular.
Yeah.
And so Next.js is the leader in what they call server-side React. So you actually can generate component HTML, CSS from the server side without actually sending the component to the front end from a static standpoint. So you can dynamically produce the front end on the back end using the same React JavaScript technology. It's just parts of it execute on the back end and parts of it execute on the front end. And so when you have the front end and the back end sharing components like that, it makes it easier for you to prompt AI, because it's the same construct, I guess you would say, React components. So Mercedes, to extend what you're saying, I think watch Vercel, because from what I see for software development as a product, because you were asking about products, I'm assuming you meant software.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So from that standpoint, I think they're the leaders right now.
Okay.
Vercel. Yeah, I just followed them now.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out. I think that, like, with all of the noise happening right now, the hardest thing is to like sift through and find out where it's worth putting your attention and what tools should you actually take time to learn and bring into your toolkit, because it's such a buzz right now. It's hard to decipher, where you put your effort, but you can also waste a lot of time doing that. I mean, I can't tell you how many AI tools I've already just tried and experimented with, and I was like, I will never use this, because either it wasn't ready or it was buggy or I didn't like the output. And it can be overwhelming. So I think, to your point earlier of having those expertise, those years of experience underneath your belt to truly be able to vet these applications as they come out is still going to be crucial for a long time, until we see an industry leader clearly emerge. But right now it's kind of like a race for everyone to, get the market dominance. And it, as a consumer or someone who's trying to leverage it as a skill set, it can be very overwhelming. But yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I'll check out. Thank you for the recommendation.
Sure thing.
Victor, if you just want to check, I think I posted.
Yeah, she posted the
chat. Hopefully, that's how they spell their name, if I remember.
Yes, that's them.
Okay.
That's him.
If you check some of the posts on LinkedIn, you'll see some of the experiments over the last 6 months, because they always post it on LinkedIn. So, they're connected to Facebook, because React is a Facebook, started with Facebook from the open source standpoint. So Vercel is basically taking that Facebook React to the corporate level, I guess you would say. And so I'm definitely watching that, because I do dream of a day that I can truly just describe a full application, and from the front end to the back end to the unit test to the integration test, all of it gets written, and then I don't like the colors and the CSS, and I change the prompt and it just changes that part. And I think Vercel is making a lot of progress there. So I keep watching them. And the software that I wrote for my startup is hosted on Vercel, and it uses Next.js. And I was just sitting here, I wrote another program for my church in the same Next.js technology. And so I'm moving it from Vercel's hosting to AWS Amplify. And so with that, AWS has a I'm not going to say an AI yet, but it's something to watch. It's called Amplify Studio. You should check that out. And so Amplify is a way for you to get up and running quickly with front-end web applications. It's about 1.5 years, 2 years old or so. So it's not very user-friendly. You still have to be, a pretty tough developer to kind of use the platform. But I see a lot of promise where Amplify Studio, once AI is introduced to it, will actually trump Vercel. So I think that's something to watch because it is AWS. Okay, so now they're going to take Next.js, which is open source, Facebook. They're going to take all the work that Vercel is doing with Next.js. You can already host Next.js, but then it's going to turn around and let you build by prompting. And they have more resources than Vercel. So right now, what they do is you can take your Figma file, which is how this relates to UDX, something to watch. You can take your Figma file and connect it to Amplify Studio, and it will generate the actual front-end code in a way that a developer can truly modify it.
I see.
Yeah, and so that's something that's special, because usually when you generate, and this has been around for 15, 20 years. I remember when Microsoft was doing it, where you could draw out your UI and tools like Visual Interdev. That's a long time ago. Even front page, HTML at one point, and it would try to generate the HTML, XML, and other pieces of code. But once you had to maintain the code, it became very problematic because it did it in a way that was not easy for a developer to maintain. But Amplify Studio, that's one of the selling points, is take a Figma mockup and within a few clicks turn it into a React Next.js application.
Yeah, man. There's a lot.
Are you Googling? Are you looking at that now too?
Yeah.
So these are the two I would watch. Vercel is already making strides, but I believe Amplify Studio just one day is going to say, "Oh, we're launching AI within the studio," and so now you can describe your back end, describe your front end, prompt it, and it generates everything. And you can reference. Like you have a model that you can reference in some of these large language models. What do you call that, Everett? Where you have a large language model, but you want to augment the results with your own data.
Oh, it's prompt design.
Prompt design. Okay, so you'll be able to augment. What I see is going to happen with one player is probably going to be Amplify Studio. You'll be able to augment the AI with Figma. Do you see where I'm going? Yeah. So you put your whole design system, what a form field looks like. What does a carousel look like? What does
that's similar to like what a product called Builder.io.
Builder.io.
There's two of them. Let me check because there's Builder AI and then there's Builder. It's IO. Yeah. Builder.io.
Okay. So I'll drop this for Mercedes and I'll stop. The players that are making progress now are the smaller players like Vercel, because they can change quickly, they can adapt, they can, go after, vision on a whim. But what I've seen just, in my 29 years of being in software is that usually some player like Microsoft or Amazon or IBM or, they see what the other little smaller startup is doing and their teams basically take it to the next level. Yeah.
Or they eat them up and acquire them and run them to the ground.
Exactly. Acquisition. But
that's what Victor is banking on.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft, give me that check. You can have my thing that I do.
Exactly. So it's gonna be a wild and crazy world, and so I'm here to learn and try to be a person that takes advantage of it in many different ways.
Have you seen the demo videos on Devin, Victor?
No, I haven't. Devin, what is that?
You just check the chat. I got you.
Okay, you got me. Thank you.
We're on fire with these links.
Yeah, this is tattoos. She just got all kinds of shit. Like read this, read that, read that.
All I do is examine products. Like the time when I even came across Vercel, I literally had like 20 windows open because a really good blogger, his name is Kobus, actually, he worked, I think he still works for this company that we almost bought our chatbot platform from Core AI. But he, just is on it when it comes to the different vendors and those that are emerging and rising in the space. I mean, at this point, better than the Gartner quadrant, the stuff he posts. And he'll have these infographics that's got the NASCAR jacket, of everyone's logo and name. And I would just look up every company, kind of see who's got like a free trial or something that I could log into or try, or and so and constantly there are new things on the space. Because last year when everything kind of hit the fan, nothing was, to your point, Mercedes, mature enough, right? So I don't think whatever I saw 6 months ago are the tools, to go with, but they're rapidly improving, a lot of aggressive, movement in that space. So I'm always checking and following who's doing something newer with their product that's making it very competitive and compelling, and, watching. And looking for my toolkit, even, my tools of choice. And even that will probably, because there was a time it was Macromedia that then got swallowed up by Adobe. And I thought Adobe XD was it. No, it's Figma. And then Canva, don't sleep on Canva. It's creeping up in different ways, and you just have to see like who is really maintaining competitive to make your work life easier. Like I'm with Victor. I just want to tell the thing, what I need.
Exactly.
Read my mind.
It builds me like something fantastical. I sell it, make my money, all that good stuff. So one of the I think one of the videos for Devin, and it may not be on their page, but I'll find it and I'll share it somehow, get Everett to share it to you guys, where somebody was using Devin to do, what's that website that's a popular one for development gigs?
WordPress, Squarespace, Wix?
Upwork?
Something like that, but not Upwork, but I don't know.
Fiverr.
Yeah.
But one of those where, there's a video where somebody literally was making money by having the AI take up the project.
Yep.
On one of these freelance sites, and I was like, what?
It successfully completed a freelance job, this AI software developer. It's the Devon is pretty remarkable. They had videos on that site, so check that link out. But yeah, it completed an Upwork job with no issues. So yeah, this is an interesting time, and like I said, adding AI conversational design into the curriculum here is very paramount. And what you will see, you'll even see some workshops with Tatusha, where we start building some of these use cases, that we as designers will more than likely encounter, but also entrepreneurs. I think that's going to be big, is teaching, entrepreneurs from basic to intermediate level understanding, and then allowing some sort of advanced option for those as well. But I think we're at the right time implementing these strategies and new techniques, and it's just a matter of just understand that there are people far ahead on the wave. Just catch you a good one. Don't necessarily worry about being at the forefront, especially with the day jobs and shit that we have, but stay up on what's out there. And I think we're all doing a good job of that, and it's just a matter of spreading it to more and more people. But we are at time. I really appreciate you all showing up. Again, be on the lookout for more, and I'll definitely get feedback, and would definitely like to walk through in more finer detail what I have, because this ain't even the half of it. So I really appreciate you all, and you all have a good night and the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Everett. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Y'all take care.
Bye-bye.